For more on this, we have Adele Nazarian joining us live from Washington, D.C. She is a media fellow at the Gould Institute for International Strategy. Adele, welcome back to WION, and thank you so much for joining us. First of all, can you tell us what you make of this saga and this indictment of Donald Trump? You know, we were kind of blindsided, to say the least. While we did expect it, we didn't think that Alvin Bragg would go ahead with it. At the end of this week, at least.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you again. Sorry for the connection there. I have to say I'm with you. This is unprecedented in U.S. history. Believe me, this is the first, and it likely won't be the last. And I have to just say that although an indictment is not a conviction, this sets a chilling effect throughout the judicial system, and is going to cause America's enemies and allies alike to start putting into question the definition of what democracy actually is, and what U.S. democracy is currently, and what it's going to look like over the next year and into the future as this saga continues to unfold.
Right. And I think, it's important to really outline why this is such a political case. This was a case that not only Alvin Bragg's predecessors didn't want to touch because it was so flimsy, but also federal prosecutors said that there is really no there. And then here is someone like Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, who decided to just go ahead with it because apparently people in his own office were criticizing him for, basically he got bullied into really going ahead with this case. But it's anything but a slam dunk, considering the fact that it's going to be very long. A conviction, as you mentioned, is not something that is not likely, to say the least. And then, it's not going to set a good precedent. I mean, the other side might retaliate at the end of the day. So any benefit, what is going to come out of this? How do you think that Alvin Bragg thought this through?
I think there's a lot of, just to pull an old quote out here, you can indict a ham sandwich, right? And so, of course, while a conviction may not actually come to fruition, I think that there was a lot of thought put into this. I think that the whole notion of trying to present the January 6th attack on the Capitol Hill as being an insurrection was an attempt to invoke the 14th Amendment, which we're all familiar here with, which bars anyone who engage in insurrection or rebellion to aid the enemies of the U.S. to run for office. But of course, you have Republicans saying that was in no way, shape, or form an insurrection. You have Democrats saying that it absolutely was. And I believe what's going now is, when there aren't enough chips in the table, so to speak, to continue with the plan that was initiated, it's going to go on to the next one. And now what we're seeing is a completely politicized division politically, Democrats, Republicans, leading up to this very, very intense 2024 presidential election. And I do believe that this is if we're going to talk about the partisanship here, the Democrats thought this would be a way to get Trump to step aside. Knowing his personality, having you and I both, and anyone in the media world, having seen his personality and his unwillingness to, quote unquote, back down, I believe this only empowers and invigorates Donald Trump even more. And what it's ended up going to do is further energize his base of absolute supporters, the MAGA crowd, if you'd like to call them that as well, and might even result in helping him actually in his reelection prospects. As you see, he's campaigning and he hasn't been fazed by, publicly at least, as to what's been thrown at him.
I think that maybe because of something like this being politicized and the fear that it puts into people that our justice system might be veering in the way of politicization, some Democrats may be on board as well and join that MAGA crowd. Not because it's Donald Trump, but because of the manner that this has been really taking place. And I just want to add that a conviction would almost certainly require the jury to credit someone like Michael Cohen, who has his own legal troubles. So, just talking about that a little bit, we talk about indictment on the one hand, but I think that our audience needs to also distinguish between indictment and conviction. And I think that there is really a long way to go. And I think this is possibly going to be a very lengthy trial.
Absolutely. I just want to also point out that being convicted does not bar someone from running for office, right? It's very important to know that they didn't succeed in their attempts, of course, but two names that have been circulating in the media as of late are Eugene Debs and Lyndon LaRouche, who both of whom were actually convicted. They were fringe candidates, of course, but they ended up running multiple times. And so there is nothing in the Constitution that bars or precludes anyone with a conviction who is a U.S. national, naturalized citizens and born in the U.S., of course, from running for office. But you're absolutely right that what this does do is set our justice system into a flurry. And I think you're correct. Michael Cohen also, I mean, not to go ahead and use this analogy so casually, but even a broken clock is right twice a day, so to speak. So in this case, even if someone has done some wrongdoing, it's very possible that something that they did regarding to Michael Cohen regarding the Donald Trump case, even with his own, misdemeanors or whatever he may have done, mistakes, he may actually be found that he did certain things the right way as it pertained to Trump. And I really am glad that you pointed out it may bring some people from across the aisle more to the center, the side of justice, to realize that despite whether or not you like or hate him as a person, what's happening to Donald Trump is truly an abomination in terms of the way a former president is being treated and the way the situation is being handled. And so I do hope that justice will prevail and that any judges or people on the legal side of things that are actually handling this case will be able to err on the side of justice the way it was intended and to put their own personal biases aside for the betterment of the people, for the country, and also by extension, the world.
Yeah, these things don't happen overnight. We've seen it happen in so many other countries, and it would just be so great if we at least saw one or two Democratic lawmakers stand up and at least say something. It would make so much of a difference. Adele, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for that insight. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Susan, likewise. Thank you so much.